For the official opposition, Danny Kruger.
Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Pleasure to serve under you. And my thanks and appreciation to the member for Sheffield Hallam for her speech and for bringing this debate. She expresses very well the complexity of migration and its effects and of the welfare system, which I'll come to. But I just want to acknowledge in passing how important it is that we do get our migration routes right, recognise the great difficulties that exist in our system to do with the safe and legal routes and how much we could do better on that front. I recognise that in previous years with the Syrian scheme, the Hong Kong scheme, the Ukrainian schemes, we did manage to facilitate large-scale asylum and humanitarian visa routes. And of course, we've seen, leaving aside this question of safe and legal routes for refugees, very large-scale migration flows and visa awards in recent years. These have put significant pressure on a range of different aspects of our society, from wages and housing to public services and indeed welfare. And the Honourable Lady gives a compelling account of the challenges of hardship faced by migrant families, and indeed other members have also spoken eloquently of the impact of poverty, particularly on children, and I recognise how much particularly the member for Strangford illustrated that. My concern with the general proposal made by the Honourable Lady and by other honourable members is that they don't make reference to the likely dynamic effects of effectively abolishing the no recourse to public funds status, the pull factor that this would induce in the system if we were to signal and in fact to enact instant or even speedier eligibility for public funds to people who come here, whether as somebody claiming asylum or on a visa. We would inevitably significantly increase the demand for places here in the UK if we did that, and I think we need to acknowledge that. The Honourable Lady mentioned the sanctuary city of Sheffield, and I think the Honourable Lady mentioned, the member for Liverpool mentioned the same. I was talking this morning to some social care providers. I represent part of Swindon, which is also a sanctuary borough, thanks to the Labour Council there. The providers were talking about the immense pressure that the increase in migrant families is placing on public services in Swindon. I shall in one moment, including pressure on social care and also on the children's services. So it is not without consequence when we invite many more people to come and live with us. Happy to give way.
Kirsty Blackman.
Just to correct him slightly, actually, myself and the member for Sheffield Hallam did both mention the pull factor and the fact that there's no evidence for that pull factor. Just on the issue of stretched public services, the reduction in people coming over to study, being able to bring dependents, has decimated the social care sector in Aberdeen. Normally, we rely on those people who are dependents on student visas to take part in our care system, and we're struggling to look after all of our elderly people as a result of those changes.
I'm grateful to her, and I'm sorry if I missed her reference to the pull factor. I simply don't believe that there is no effect on the demand for places in the UK consequent on the offer of support or the lack of offer of support. I think these considerations will be factored in when people are deciding whether to apply for a visa here. If we're offering additional public finances to people, that would make a more attractive offer. I recognise the point that she makes about the labour market and the availability of people working in the social care system. I think perhaps that's a topic for another day, but I do recognise the point that she makes, and indeed the point was made by the care providers in Swindon that I was talking to this morning. They also made the point that we could do so much better in this country about supporting and training care workers brought up here. So, leaving aside the potential dynamic effect of ending the no recourse arrangements, I don't think the Honourable Lady sufficiently acknowledges the existing pressures on the system that are in consequence of the high rates of migration that we now have. There have been studies that suggest that around 1 million people are likely to get indefinite leave to remain. The estimates vary between 750,000 to 1.25 million. 1 million people coming down the pipeline, as it were, likely to get ILR in the coming years, and therefore getting recourse to public funds. Even on and we're talking about people, because of the way the immigration system has worked in recent years, we're talking about people who are overwhelmingly on low wages, and those who also come with dependents, notwithstanding genuine contribution that many of them will make. Overall, pure analysis of the numbers, they and their families will represent a fiscal loss to the country over the time of that they're in the UK. And I will in one moment, just to cite this stat, even based on the very optimistic assumptions about lifetime earnings that the OBR uses, this million or so people who are expected to get indefinite leave to remain in the coming years will have a net fiscal lifetime cost for the country of £234 billion. That is what we're looking at with the current system. I'm happy to give way to the Honourable Lady.
Way and for his contribution in this, but I just want to pull back a bit on some of the comments he made about what I was implying, because I think there is a net contribution from migrants. We know that to be true, and it's not just all about costs. And if some of the things that I'd outlined in my speech today happen, there would be a benefit of £800 million to the economy. So we have to take it in the round.
Danny Kruger.
I'm very grateful, and I do want to emphasise, I recognise the complexity of the subject we're discussing, and that the Honourable Lady has cited evidence that contradicts mine. I think I need to look into the study that she mentions, because my very strong understanding is that on the basis of the overall immigration that we have, and frankly it's my party that's responsible for it, that we have welcomed in recent years, the net fiscal effect is negative. Of course, there are very many migrants who contribute economically, and there are many migrants who contribute even if they're not contributing economically. Not everything is counted in pounds and pence. But if we're talking about the fiscal effects, I am confident in saying that based on the numbers who are looking at achieving indefinite leave to remain, who are presumably the numbers that she would want to see increased, she'd want those people to have recourse to public funds earlier, we are looking at a significant increase in the financial burden. I also want to acknowledge a point that she made, and other honourable members have made it, which is that the current system does result in cost shunting around the system. It's certainly the case that the consequence of people living in poverty might mean that the DWP doesn't bear the cost, but other parts of the public services, public system do, obviously local authorities most of all. I don't think that's an argument to say, right, well, in that case, let the DWP provide the money, because I think overall we would be spending a lot more, and as I've said, we will be inviting more people to come if we do that. But I do acknowledge that it's not as if these costs are not borne at all. Some of them are borne elsewhere. I just want to end by making a very obvious point, Dr. Hook, which is to say that our welfare system remains one based on contribution in principle and to a certain degree in practice, insofar as the national insurance system still exists, and certainly in the public mind, and I think rightly, there is an expectation that for the sake of fairness and trust in the system, we should maintain an arrangement whereby welfare is funded by and is for the benefit of citizens of this country. There are, of course, many exceptions to that. Other people make contributions and other people are eligible for support. But that is the rule. That's the basis on which our system depends. And my strong view is that the proposal by the Honourable Lady, echoed by the member for Aberdeen North, effectively to scrap the no recourse to public funds arrangement, and I think the Liberal Democrat spokesperson made a similar point. I think that would be to terminally undermine, terminally weaken and eventually destroy the basis of our welfare system, which is that it's one in which people pay in and receive. To conclude, the child poverty strategy I look forward to very much. My personal view is that if we are serious about reducing child poverty, including for those children living in migrant families who are here now, we need to reduce the flow of low-wage families coming into the system in the first place, whether from abroad or through our own failure to support families in this country. I think that means extending the qualification period for ILR, as my party has suggested, and it's good that the government is now considering following suit. We should obviously be helping families in their finances through meaningful and effective reform of the welfare system. We should be supporting the community infrastructure which gives support to families and to young people. And we should be stimulating the creation of well-paid jobs through an economic policy that stimulates growth. We should not be taxing jobs out of existence, as the government is sadly doing. Those are the best ways to support children in poverty. Thank you.